So I picked up this book thinking because I read Jonathan Haidt, what do you say, Haidt's book about the anxious generation. And then I've heard him on a couple of podcast interviews, things like that. And then heard about his happiness hypothesis book. I think I've seen it before, but I didn't, based on my views and what I've come to know, about happiness and how one can essentially be with happiness or discover happiness within oneself. I thought there wouldn't be nothing new, but it was a great read. I was wrong in the sense that it wasn't anything the same old, same old. He went in a different direction, but I would say it's nothing new as far as what I did know, but how we put it and how I would say one thing that was new, how we looked at it, definitely changed my mind on it. So I guess that part is new. But what he does is in this book, he goes through 10 different chapters. Essentially, each one is an hypothesis. And I guess you would call it 10 steps to happiness. You could call that. But the main, one of the most interesting things he went through or something new, I personally kind of, I guess, thought differently. I don't think I didn't know, was thought differently, was the fact that, many of these monks, if you go to the yogis or gurus and people who are, you could say, enlightened, one of the things they talk about is not being attached to worldly things, and happiness is within us. Everything is inside, not outside, which is very true. But what he proposes is, what Jonathan Haidt proposes is, yes, it's very true, it's within, but science and studies show that what you're doing, what you're aiming for, your journey, your relationships, which are external factors, also heavily account for your happiness. So that's definitely something, a slight twist in how he says it, and it's 100% true. And many times, right, that's what I've discovered. I'm actually writing a book on, or more like I would say, booklet on life, accepting life as it is. And many of those principles he covers in here, but I put it in a different way, short form, quick read, and then people can explore it separately, all those theories. But, in that, one of the things I've discovered, many things I've discovered is it's not the goal or the result that makes us happy, but it's a journey. And the focus on that goal, we always need a purpose to do anything. Most people do, maybe the monks or yogis living in Himalayas or monks in the monastery, whatever the case is, maybe they don't, right? Because their whole pursuit is the higher, going to the God, universe, whatever that is. But most people, they are not happy just because they reach a goal. Most people get happy when they're getting closer to the goal and pursuing something higher. So that's what he kind of intimates on that. And then the picture, you can see, I don't know if you can see, elephant and the rider on it in the sea. That's what it kind of goes with, starts with. The rider, elephant, is the one that's automatic. People put it a different way. He's a psychologist. If you've read Daniel Kahneman's book, System 1, his whole book is about System 1 and System 2. System 1 is the subconscious, or you can call it subconscious versus conscious. The rider is the conscious mind, and elephant is the subconscious or automatic being, which is basically trained. right? You're trained, your mind gets trained in a certain way, and it's constantly going that way. And if things don't work out that way, then it's not happy. And that's kind of his point. Like when he goes from the first chapter, divided self, where it's like this higher self, the soul, versus the body, mind, which is within, that programming or what it's looking at, and feeling that that's the whole, how the happiness, or essentially, there's a worldview programming that says, hey, if things don't happen a certain way, then I'm not happy, because it doesn't stick to my trained mind. So anyway, he doesn't put it that way, but that's kind of what he intimates. And then the other thing, although him being, one of the very interesting points is he has dwelt deeply into religion. Now he's an atheist, right? He, claims one of the things, that's what he differentiates. He's an atheist, and also he talks about philosophy, difference between philosophy and psychology, and he kind of gets into why philosophy without psychology doesn't work, because you got to delve into the human mind to understand people. Why do they do things? On the same note, he dwells deeply into religion, although he doesn't himself is a religious guy, but he's Jewish, born Jewish, but Jewish religion or Jewish, belief system. But he wasn't a practicing Jewish guy. So he was, I think, based on what he shares, he's been an atheist since his high school, which I guess the commonality there with him is I somewhere in high school is when I became an atheist, and now I'm fully spiritual, and that's the nuance. Here he doesn't say he's religious, but more he talks how he gets into various religions and why religions work with the happiness, and why the religious rules originally, he hypothesizes, why they were created. And then some of the things that people do to make it dogmatic instead of the original spirit of the religion was more about, creating an order, creating a more, code, how people live, people with common belief system live, and thereby, in that organized society, that's what he gets into. For example, he goes into essentially going to India, to Benares, to the holy city, and living there, understanding the whole customs, understanding this whole caste system, or the Brahmin caste there, why they do certain things, and why looking from outside doesn't make any sense. Same thing with any religion. When people look from outside, they don't understand. Think, oh, why is that done that way? Because they're not, being grown in that. And that's one of the things he goes into. When somebody grows in that for generations, he talks even about how a race can evolve. It takes 20 generations before a race goes, even like a skin color, how it evolves. So anyway, I mean, it's fascinating. I guess I can keep going on and on about that. But the main points of his whole book is there's so many aspects of it, religion, just social, how a model is, or, how the thinking is, and then also essentially how social, especially relationships evolve, and the goals, all those things form essentially the happiness hypothesis. And this all is from different religions, different philosophies, because he goes into stoicism, stoicism, whatever. I can't say the word now right now, but Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, so on and so forth, and all kind of evolve into a similar hypothesis, essentially. So, bottom line, highly, highly recommend reading this book. Maybe it might be worth reading 2 or 3 times because how he goes about it is different than what I've seen and what my personal, I guess, deep diving into this whole happiness factor is different from how he puts it. He puts it more in the practical sense, but then he also gets into the spirituality, all that stuff. So he does it in a great way. So anyway, what I would say is highly recommend reading this book for sure.